20 years I've been unknowingly living in this damn novel. And the moment I woke up to it, I was drenched in a cold sweat. Good news. My memories were back, and I knew the whole plot line like the back of my hand. Bad news, said plot. Seemed to have progressed to a point of no return. We're damn near it, Ethan. You might have my body, but you'll never have my heart. Jai Jai, I only want your body. Huh? The clanking of chains echoed through the dim, musty wine cellar. Right now, I was leaning over Sarah Miller halfway through unbuttoning her blouse. Or rather, he was the character I was playing. Then bam, a massive data dump of memories slammed into my brain. So, I've been transmigrated into this book for 2 decades, stuck with the script of the irredeemably villainous, scheming second male lead. To get the female lead, Sarah, this character, Ethan Cole, had resorted to kidnapping, leveraging family power to crush her family's business, even threatening to wipe them out entirely. According to the plot, I'd already tied up my childhood friend, Sarah, in this godforsaken cellar. And next up was the part where I'd violate her and act worse than any animal. Finally, Sarah and the male lead, Alex Rider, would team up to expose all my dirty deeds, leading my gorgeous fiancé and our 2 powerful families to wash their hands of me. I'd be exiled to some remote hellhole, probably one of my father's nearly abandoned oil rigs in Alaska, and meet a grisly end, likely taken out by disgruntled locals. What kind of brain-dead toxic garbage was this written by what absolute hack? I was born into an old money family, rolling in dough and influenced with a fiancé who was a certified 10 out of 10. And this idiot version of me threw it all away, sing over his childhood crush like a lost puppy. And not just sing, committing acts that would make a saint swear. Fine, if you're going to be like that, then let's just cut ties. I don't want Veronica to get the wrong idea. I mumbled, rebut-toning Sarah's blouse, even smoothing out the wrinkles with an almost comical tenderness. I had to try and salvage this. Look, I wasn't actually going to do anything. I was just testing you to see if you were really true to Alex. I added for good measure. You know, Alex is like a brother to me. I can't stand by and watch you play games with his heart. Alex Rider, of course, was the male lead. The novel setup had him as the secret loyan of some massive industrial dynasty, currently slumming it as a barista at a hipster coffee joint. Sarah stared at me, her eyes like chips of ice. The smirk play on her lips practically screamed, "Keep digging that hole, buddy. I'm watching." The back of my shirt was soaked with sweat. To show my sincerity or desperation, I personally undid the heavy padlock on her chains. Okay, fine. I was the one who'd locked them in the first place. But details. I hadn't actually done the deed yet. There was still a chance. Sarah, we grew up together. So you send goons to threaten my dad, sabotage my family's company, lure me to a friendly dinner that was clearly a trap, drug me, and then plan to assault me. Is that how you treat someone you grew up with, Ethan? A test? It was all a test. I stammered outside the cellar. Door I knew was a household staff member who was basically a double agent reporting everything to my father and probably Veronica's family. If I admitted to anything now, by tomorrow, Ethan Cole's greatest hits of heinous behavior will be trending on Twitter. She snatched the keys from my hand, the sharp end of one now pointed at my throat. She narrowed her eyes. Ethan Cole, I used to look up to you like an older brother. You've disappointed me, more than I can say. I knew she wouldn't actually kill me. The Miller family's entire livelihood was still hanging by a thread or rather my family held. If I conveniently kicked the bucket, their business would go under. Before my body was cold, I managed to squeeze out a couple of crocodile tears, tilting my head at a dramatic 45 degrees angle, my voice dripping with manufactured sorrow. I offer my heart to the bright moon, but alas, the moon chose to illuminate the gutter. Pure Shakespearean BS, but desperate times. Sarah still cared deeply about the business her father had poured his life into. Otherwise, she wouldn't have walked into that dinner knowing full. What was a setup? She just snorted and left without a backward glance. That same night, I pulled back all the covert pressure I'd been putting on Miller Kororp. I also dealt with that little spy. His offense, stepping into the Cole mansion with his left foot first. His punishment transferred to our most remote, God-forsaken meteorological station in Antarctica. Effective immediately, Mr. Ethan, sir, one of the household staff, a nervous guy named Peterson, began that annulment agreement you had sent over to the Vance estate. There, Butler returned it. He hesitated, then stammered. Miss Vance said, if you insist on breaking the engagement, she'll kill herself. I couldn't help but let out a cynical laugh. Veronica Vance was my fiancée. Sure, but we met a grand total of twice. And I knew perfectly well she wasn't starried over Ethan Cole, the family heir. No, her heart belonged to Alex Ryder, the charming barista with a secret lineage. Her insistence on marrying me was just a performance, a way to make Alex jealous. In the novel, Sarah liked Alex, but Alex was hung up on Veronica, who'd supposedly help him out when he was down on his luck. If it weren't for my original character's idiotic meddling, which inadvertently made Alex noticed, the quietly devoted Sarah, Veronica, that beautiful, dangerous woman, would have probably ended up as the first lady of whatever empire Alex was destined to rule. Ethan, my father said, his expression troubled. We were in a study, a room Pam led in dark wood and smelling of old books and expensive scotch. I know you've had a soft spot for Sarah Miller since you were kids, but this engagement with Veronica was arranged years ago. It's important for both families, he sighed. Try a more conciliatory tone. If you really can't go through with it, perhaps we could have Billy stand in for you. I've been a precocious kid twice. I'd given my father some off-the-cuff advice that had miraculously saved coal industry for the brink of collapse. As a result, he'd always indulged me, given me whatever I wanted. He'd even been dead set against the original script's exile punishment. It was the idiot author who'd forced a nonsensical plot point where I had a crisis of conscience and insisted on being sent to that Alaskan hellhole to make something of myself, only to, get myself killed. Classic. I glanced at my younger brother Billy. He was 6 feet 5 inches with a striking, almost angelic face, but he had a developmental disability. He was perpetually sweet-natured, innocent with the mental age of an 8-year-old. Billy? I asked gently, would you want to marry Veronica? Billy, munching on a cookie, looked up with wide eyes. If you don't want her, Ethan, then I don't want her either. It was a business murder matrimonio, plain and simple. She could have her flings, I'd have mine, and we'd stay out of each other's hair. Who knew? Maybe without me, the villainous Ethan Cole, stirring the pot, Veronica Vance would actually end up with her prince, become the powerful matriarch of the Ryder dynasty, and maybe even throw a few lucrative contracts my way down the line. A guy could dream. The next day I strode into the Starlight Lounge like I owned the place. This was where the supposedly devastatingly beautiful Veronica Vance held court, schmoozing with trust, fun kids, and anemic-looking artists, occasionally dabbing at a canvas or plinking at a grand piano. God, she was a socialite cliché. I barged straight into the private alcove, where Veronica was, and surprise, surprise, Alex Ryder was there too. They were laughing, quoting obscure poetry, and sipping something expensive out of delicate glasses. My sudden entrance definitely broke the mood. Veronica, ever the picture of composure, merely raised an eyebrow. Alex, however, looked like he wanted to throw his artisanal cocktail in my face. His displeasure was practically a neon sign. Oh, my bad. Didn't mean to interrupt. I immediately backed up, ready to bolt. Seriously, this guy was basically a prince in disguise. According to the novel, messing with him was a one-way ticket to a very short lifespan. Forget about fighting over the devastatingly beautiful Veronica Vance. As Ethan Cole, heir to a fortune, all I wanted was to keep my head attached to my shoulders. There'd be plenty of other women. Wait, a voice soft and melodious, so smooth it could probably make your ears pregnant, stopped me. Veronica, she then turned to. Alex, darling, Perhaps you could head off for now. Ethan and I have some rather urgent matters to discuss. As Alex brushed past me, he frowned, his voice a low warning. You better not try anything out of line, Cole. Your family might be big shots, but this isn't your private playground. There's still rules. Right? Right? Whatever you say, man. I nodded quickly. Normally, the old Ethan would have puffed out his chest, thrown a few choice insults, and maybe even landed a couple of punches just to live up to his rich jerk persona. But now I was all smiles and deference. The guy was being relatively polite, considering, and he was the future king of the freaking world or its corporate equivalent. This was a racehorse he wanted to back, not antagonize. Mr. Cole, you're quite different from the rumors, Veronica Vance said, a delicate lace-trimmed handkerchief dabbing at her lips as she let out a tinkling little laugh. She looked like a debutante straight out of a Fitzgerald novel. I, however, wasn't in the mood for pleasantries. I got straight to the point. You don't need to worry about this whole arranged marriage thing. I've had a change of heart. We can go through with it. A fake marriage beefy, the picture-perfect couple for the public. I laid out my proposal. On the surface, we satisfy the families. Privately, we go our separate ways. How's that sound? Hi. Is Mr. Cole so eager to be rid of little old me? She said it sweetly, but her eyes were full of playful mockery. I wouldn't want to marry a man who doesn't love me, you know. Then sign this. I pulled out a prenuptial agreement, heavily skewed towards an easy annulment, plan B. If things got too messy, I wasn't about to play the fool or the pathetic lovesick loser. I just cut my losses, pay whatever penalty. Given my standing with my father, he'd reluctantly absorb any financial hit to Cole Industries from source deal. Veronica clearly hadn't expected this. She stared at the document, then pouted prettily. You just sent one back yesterday, and now another one today. Her voice had a faux wounded tone. I am, after all, a Vance. A lady of some renown, you might say. You sending your minions to my family home, repeatedly trying to break our engagement. Are you trying to insult me? And the entire Vance family. Apologies, but I'm not keen on marrying a woman who doesn't love me either. I rummaged in my pocket and produced a small ink pad and a stamp with my initials. I frowned, finding impatience. Come on, chop. I promised to buy my brother some cotton candy. Once this is done, you can be with Alex guilt-free. I leaned in. Conspirator ally. Trust me, Alex Ryder is a blue-chip stock. Go all in. You won't regret it. Veronica's eyes flickered, a hint of panic in them for a split second. What does Alex have to do with any of this? Oh, please. If you like the guy, just say it. Stop beating around the bush like some. Well, you know, Veronica ? I roll my eyes at her. Look, if you're worried this will affect the Vance family's business interests, I can give you my personal guarantee. This involves the fortunes of two major families. As long as Vance Corp still wants to partner with Cole Industries, we're happy to oblige. Veronica's perfectly sculpted eyebrows knitted together. She considered it for a moment, then slowly reached for the ink pad, dabbing her thumb lightly onto the red ink. My hand shot out quick as a striking snake, clamping on her wrist. I was about to force her thumb print onto the annulment agreement. But just then, chaos erupted. Mr. Ethan, bad news. Young Mr. Billy, he's been beaten up. That shout froze me mid-action. I shot a quick glance at Veronica, who was now frowning with genuine annoyance. With a helpless sigh, I released her and bolted out the door. Veronica, blinking, her beautiful eyes in surprise, dropped what she was holding and after a moment, leisurely followed me. God damn it. Who the hell dares to lay a hand on my brother? I burst into the chaotic crowd. Before a family security detail could arrive, I went full beast mode, shielding Billy and surprisingly Sarah. Miller, who was also trying to protect him. Man, Billy, what kind of trouble did you get into? I already had two souvenir bruises on my back from stray chair legs. Soon, the Cole family security swarmed the area, looking like they meant business. The assailants turned out to be some out-of-town truckers who'd been passing through. They'd seen Billy, who with his childlike demeanor probably looked like an easy target for some mean-spirited fun. Unfortunately, for them, Billy might be innocent, but he wasn't a pushover. He'd immediately gone after them, fists flying. Damn, they really didn't hold back, did they? I rubbed my lower back, wincing. I order my men to take the disrespectful punks back to the estate for some re-education. Old school. Sarah was trying to calm down, still fuming. Billy. I noticed a trickle of blood at the corner of her mouth and nearly had a heart attack. Whoa, Sarah, are you okay? Then my survival instincts kicked in. Hey, for what it's worth, since I just, save your bacon back there, maybe put in a good word for me with your good buddy, Alex. Please, Sarah. Pretty please. I caught her skeptical. Look, don't look at me like that. This time, it really wasn't some hero saves the damsel routine I set up. I took a few hits myself. See, my damn survival instinct was in overdrive. I had orchestrated similar scenes in the past to try and win her over. I just prayed Sarah wouldn't misunderstand this time and paint me as even more of a villain. Till Alex. You'd better hope so, she said, her tone flat. I watched her walk away, only then letting out a sigh of relief. I turned to check on Billy. You hurt. You were so worried about Sarah. You didn't even look at me. Billy mumbled, pouting. Oh, for crying out loud. Be glad I'm not tanning your hide right. Now, if you're just a little bit street smart, or even half as good at throwing your weight around as I am, I wouldn't have to go through this crap with you. I sent one of the staff to get Billy his cotton candy, then awkwardly slunk back to Veronica's private room at the Starlight Lounge. The scene that greeted me made me pause. Veronica had actually brewed 2 cups of tea and was now smilingly gesturing for me to sit. That was a bit hectic earlier. Miss Vance, you're as beautiful as you were kind-hearted, magnanimous even. I'm sure you wouldn't hold it against me, right? My eyes fell to the floor. The annulment agreement was there, torn into tiny shreds. A bitter, unreadable smile touched my lips. Looks like she was genuinely pissed. Damn it, I really didn't want to resort to Plan C. To be clear, I will not agree to an annulment, Veronica said calmly, taking a small sip of her tea. If Mr. Cole has another woman he fancies, that's fine, as long as I'm officially the main wife. I don't care about any mistresses or even mistresses of mistresses. She smiled sweetly at me. I truly don't mind. You really don't mind? I asked, suspicious. There was something in Veronica's smile, a glint in her eye that felt like a beautifully crafted dagger hidden in silk. I really don't mind at all, she chirped. Looks like Plan C was also dead in the water. On my way out, I ran into Alex and Sarah. They were sitting together under a large oak tree in the park, chatting about something that made both their cheeks flush. Suddenly, Alex's face darkened. I knew with the certainty of someone who'd read the script that I needed to make a detour fast. I remember the male lead, Alex, was a bit of a Casanova in the original story, and it ended badly. A tragic ending for everyone. After he became some big-shot CEO or whatever, he amassed a string of lovers and even forced Sarah to abort their child. Then, during a walk in their ridiculously opulent penthouse garden, Sarah, who had been nursing her resentment for years, shoved Alex off the balcony. Not content with that, and unable to bear why their once loving relationship had turned so toxic, she jumped after him. And here's the kicker. The most melodramatic, over-the-top part. It wasn't a straight drop to the pavement. They landed on a massive, elaborate, and unfortunately very solid abstract sculpture in the courtyard below. They were impaled, intertwined, a gruesome tableau of flesh and metal. The novel's closing line was, and so Alex and Sarah were together. Forever. Was this a horror novel or a romance? The wedding date loomed closer. My PI reported that Alex, aside from his barista gig, which he was probably keeping for appearances, spent most of his time with Sarah. He was also secretly gathering something. Information, no doubt, to play the white knight for Sarah and take me down. But as the scheming villain, what did scheming truly mean? If I hadn't been so blinded by my scripted obsession with Sarah, I'd be a formidable player. At least half of coal industry success was due to my management. That business acumen was one of the main reasons the Vances were so keen on this marriage alliance. So even though I'd sent annulment papers over a few times, as long as Veronica herself didn't want out, her family would continue to greenlight the union. Ethan, my father said, looking up from a ledger in a study, this month's account for the luxury division are a bit off. I diverted some funds to finalize that new partnership with Miller Corporation. I'll square it away personally later, I replied, casually twirling a pair of perfectly worn-in jade worry balls in my left hand while my right sketched out a marketing strategy for our upcoming jewelry line. Ethan, dear, my mother's soft voice came from the doorway. She carried a tray with a bowl of steaming homemade chicken noodle soup. You've been running yourself ragged lately. Please don't work yourself into an early grave. I know, Mom. I put down my pen, pinching the bridge of my nose suddenly. Exhausted. These days, I didn't dare make a wrong move, especially around Alex and Sarah. One false step, one misinterpreted word, and they'd have another black mark against my name. Right now, building up a substantial escape fund seemed like the smartest move. Prepare for the worst. If it came down to the whole Cole family facing ruin, at least I could grab a go bag and flee to the Caymans or somewhere without an extradition treaty and start over. Where's Billy? Where'd he run off to now? I asked casually. He said he was going to see his sister-in-law today. Mom replied. I froze for a second. Which sister-in-law? Cough. Cough. Noticing the confused look from my parents, I quickly corrected myself. Do you want to see Veronica Vance? He's been going over to the Vance estate every day for the past week. Dad said. We were a little worried at first, but he seems to be enjoying himself. Came back with a double chin yesterday, so they must be feeding him well. We haven't interfered. Oh crap, this was bad. The engagement was just around the corner. My brother, bless his innocent heart, was easily manipulated. If Veronica managed to wheedle any compromising information out of him, or if he accidentally let something slip that she could use as leverage, that would be a massive headache later on. I rushed over to the Vance estate, arriving just in time to see Veronica escorting Billy out the front door. My little brother was clutching a box overflowing with cookies, beaming as he waved a happy goodbye to Veronica. Well, if it isn't my dear husband to be finally gracing me with his presence. I've been so terribly lonely these past few days. You know, Veronica cooped the moment she spotted me lurking near the gates. Her voice was dripping with that saccharine sweetness that screamed green tea, __, or the American equivalent, a master manipulator playing innocent. But this husband to be crap. What fresh hell was this? Miss Vance, you're too kind, I said, trying for polite but distant. I took Billy's arm, intending to make a quick exit. A delicate white hand blocked my path. I found myself facing Veronica. Her expression a perfect blend of playful pout and mock indignation. Haven't seen me in days, and you don't even want to chat for a minute. We've met a grand total of 4 times in 20 years, including this very moment. I feel a bit silly pointing that out, but there you have it, I retorted, unable to resist a small eye roll. But thanks for looking after my brother these past few days. As for anything else, Miss Vance, if there's something you need, just say the word. I didn't believe for a second that Veronica Vance did anything without a hidden agenda. But it was better for everyone if we could part amicably. No need for mutually assured destruction. Ah, such word from my fiancé. You wound me truly. She arched a perfectly sculpted eyebrow. Then her tone shifted, becoming conspiratorial. Sarah Miller and Alex Ryder have been getting rather close lately, haven't they? Predictable. It always came back to the male lead. They're 2 consenting adults, apparently smitten with each other. If you're getting close, or even, rolling around in the sheets, it's none of my business. I sighed, shaking my head with feigned disappointment. I told you to go for it, to pursue your great love. But no, you don't want to break the engagement. You'd rather be a martyr to family duty. By the time they have 2 kids, you'll be banging your head against a brick wall, and no one will care. No, it's that Sarah has her heart set on someone else, she said, looking at me strangely. And you're just watching this happen. Indifferent. As they say, don't meddle in a good match. or something like that. I paused for dramatic effect. Besides, Alex Ryder is my brother from another mother. I thump my chest with false sincerity, since he also likes Sarah, and I clearly failed to win her affections. What's wrong with stepping aside gracefully? And what if he also liked your fiancé? Veronica pressed, a sly glint in her eyes. I grinned wolfishly. A man of means should be versatile. If he's got the capability, what's the harm in providing? For one more? Veronica's lip twitched. She switched her expensive-looking skirt and flounced back into the house. Bro, Billy said later, munching on a pastry Veronica had given him. I actually think Veronica is pretty nice. Yeah, she's great, huh? I said, a cynical smile playing on my lips. Maybe I'll get you a few more sisters-in-law in the future. Huh? Oh, okay. Wait, what? To give Alex some breathing room and myself a much needed break, I powered through a month's worth of work in a week. Then, dropping everything, I took off for a solo trip to Miami, ready for some sun, sand, and uncomplicated fun. Sir, perhaps you'd like to order some food? A dancer at a flashy South Beach club asked, looking amused and slightly alarmed. The moment I'd sat down in the VIP section, I've been a little overly enthusiastic with a welcoming committee. All hugs and harmless flirting. She seemed a bit overwhelmed. Sigh, don't you get it? I tilted her chin up, gazing deeply in her eyes, my voice a low, growly purr. You're the main course, sweetheart. Ethan, darling, you seem to be enjoying yourself. A voice dripping with icy amusement cut through the music. I whipped my head around, stunned. There stood Veronica Vance, a smile that didn't quite reach her eyes plastered on her face. The whole scene had a distinct caught in the act vibe. What are you doing here? And Alex, he's not with you, is he? Before I left for Miami, Alex had already started making serious inroads into managing the Miller family's alien business. He was like a shark in a goldfish pond, working miracles, and Miller Corp was suddenly on the upswing. And Veronica, like me, was the villainous supporting character obsessed with the male lead. Her earlier refusal to break the engagement was partly to appease her family and partly, I suspected, to provoke Alex. If they were both on equal footing status-wise, then even the Vances, however reluctant, couldn't play the role of dream crushers and keep clinging to the Cole alliance. As your soon-to-be wife, is it wrong for me to show a little concern for my future husband? She said. Then her gaze hardened as she looked at the dancer, still nestled beside me. It was the first time I'd seen the beautiful Miss Vance, genuinely angry. The lady of the house has arrived. Shouldn't you be leaving? Hey, we were just getting acquainted. I reluctantly pulled my arm back from the dancer, then turned to Veronica, slightly annoyed. All right, you found me. What do you want? The question was rhetorical. I'd already spotted Alex Ryder across the crowded club, looking like $1,000,000 in a designer suit, a far cry from the humble barista I'd first encountered. Alex and Sarah are here procuring a shipment of fine silks for her family's new boutique line, Veronica explained. Then, as if sensing my suspicion, added, my family just opened a new jewelry flagship store in the design district. It was pure coincidence that we traveled together. I nodded thoughtfully, my peripheral vision catching Alex approaching. I muttered an excuse, planning a swift exit, but a hand, seemingly delicate, yet possessing the strength of a vice, clamped down on my shoulder, rooting me to the spot. I looked up in disbelief, meeting Veronica's meaningful smile. Damn it, I deliberately put miles between us in the soap opera, and still, I was being dragged back into this ridiculous, over-the-top melodrama. Fancy meeting you here, Cole. It seems what Sarah told me about your proclivities was true after all, Alex said, his eyes narrowing as he took in Veronica's hand on my shoulder. But since Veronica was the one restraining me, and I was technically the victim here, he didn't say much more. His displeasure, however, was palpable, a cold wave rolling off him that made the air crackle. Before I could even attempt an explanation, Veronica seized the stage. Her eyes welled up with a sudden mist of tears, her voice trembling pitifully. Ethan, darling, if I've done something wrong, you could just tell me. Why must you sneak off to a place like this behind my back, seeking entertainment, predictably, under the spell of her damsel in distress act? Alex's gaze towards me grew even colder. He stepped forward, all righteous indignation. Cole, Veronica is completely devoted to you. How could you betray her trust like this? You have an engagement, a commitment to hurt her so deeply. It's despicable. Look at him. All Sarah this and Veronica that. I've been gone less than a month, and these three drama llamas had already managed to coordinate a trip south together. And now they were using our engagement as a pretext to condemn me, the supposedly scheming villain. A leopard can't change its spots, can it? The star of the show, Sarah Miller, had arrived. She walked right up to Alex, looped her arm through his, and shot me a triumphant little smirk over her shoulder, as if to say, "See, this is what happens when you mess with true love." If I wasn't mistaken, this was yet another elaborate setup, targeting me, and the mastermind, just as the novel described her, the calculating, viper-hearted Veronica Vance. Her goal, simple, to make Alex feel sorry for her, to shift his focus, an affection entirely on her. And I was just the pathetic disposable tool in her game. Hey, Alex, you're absolutely right, I said, injecting a note of profound shame into my voice. As an engaged man caught sampling a buffet, so to speak, I'm truly mortified. I brought shame upon the Cole family name. I fumbled in my jacket pocket. Look, the annulment papers. I carry them with me at all times. I held them up. All of you be my witnesses. I am no longer worthy of the Vance family, and certainly not of Miss Vance herself. With an air of profound guilt, right there in front of all three of them, I dramatically produced a pen and the ink pad I now apparently carried everywhere. With a pained expression, I pressed my thumb onto the ink and then onto the annulment document. Idiots, did they really think I was such a pushover? Watch me flip this script, turn their little ambush on its head. I keep the shot and fro for myself, and serve them a heaping plate of awkward. And just like that, the expressions on their faces flickered through a kaleidoscope of emotions. Sarah frowned, clearly worried that, without the engagement binding me to Veronica, Veronica would become a formidable rival for Alex's affections. Alex looked at Veronica with hopeful, almost puppy dog eyes. If Sarah hadn't been standing right there, he probably would have urged Veronica to sign on the dotted line. I watched Veronica, now caught in a difficult position, and inwardly cackled. You want to play games, sweetheart? Fine, let's play. Ethan, darling, Veronica said smoothly, sliding into the seat beside me, effectively taking a step back to advance her own agenda. To love someone is to trust them implicitly. She smiled sweetly. I believe what happened just now was a momentary lapse. Perhaps you were drowning your sorrows. I'm sure you haven't done anything to truly betray me. Damn, she was good. A pro-level move. Using the engagement to keep Alex on the hook. I got it. A woman like her wouldn't willingly share a man. Her goal was to make Alex fall head over heels so completely that there be no room in his heart for anyone else. But as the saying goes, kick him when they're down, or in this case, when she's overplaying her hand. Actually, to be perfectly honest, I said, patting Veronica's hand and giving her an apologetic look. I came to Miami for another woman. I let that sink in. When a third party enters a relationship, it means their destiny together has run its course. I sighed dramatically. It's my fault. I'm just a no-go scoundrel, unworthy of Miss Vance's devotion. Please let me go and let yourself go. To Veronica, Alex finally spoke up, his voice earnest. He's not worth your pure heart. This is just a piece of paper, a meaningless contract. How could it possibly bind a magnificent phoenix, destined for the heavens? Unbeknownst to him, Sarah was watching his every anxious expression, and the light in her own eyes slowly dimmed. Veronica was now in a true bind. If she signed, she'd be facilitating my new love. If she didn't, she'd look like a fool, clinging to a man who just publicly declared he was there for someone else. After all, Everyone knew that while Ethan Cole and Veronica Vance were engaged, there wasn't much actual affection between them. If she kept up this act, even Alex might start to doubt her sincerity. So as long as Ethan will still give me the status of wife. A terrible premonition washed over me. I wanted to grab Veronica and shake her. This woman was aiming for mutual destruction. Absolutely not. Alex roared, his eyes wide. I never thought I'd see the day when the male lead, my sworn enemy in this novel, would inadvertently become my ally. But now he was forcing a choice. The fish or the beer paw. As the old saying went, he couldn't have both. Alex, why? Why are you so insistent that Veronica leave Ethan? Are you very concerned about her? Sarah had quietly let go of Alex's arm. She tilted her head back, her chin held high in a display of stubborn pride, though tears welled in her eyes. She was demanding an answer. And just like that, I got it. This was Veronica's brilliance. Say half a sentence, then feign indecision. All to drive a wedge of mistrust between the main couple. The undisputed queen of psychological warfare. Terrifying. Absolutely terrifying. No, Sarah, it's not like that. Don't you think? Don't you think Miss Vance is just so pitiable? Alex stammered, flustered. The more he tried to explain, the guiltier he sounded. But this is between Veronica and Ethan. Why are you so against it? Sarah pressed. I just can't stand to see it. Yes, that's it. I can't stand to see such injustice. Veronica nudged the annulment papers slightly further across the table. Then she casually grabbed a handful of complimentary bar nuts and even offered me some. This woman was meticulous and clearly enjoyed stirring the pot. But I was the innocent victim here, right? In this situation, the only logical thing to do was to be a model spectator. And so a truly theatrical scene unfolded. The male and female leads argued, faces flushed with emotion, while the villain is supporting. Characters, me and Veronica, casually snacked on nuts, watching the drama with keen interest. I shot Veronica an appreciative glance. If the plot continued on this trajectory, the ultimate winner would undoubtedly be the Queen of Tea herself. Eventually, Alex, clearly unable to bear Sarah's distress any longer, mumbled a quick word of reassurance to Veronica, shot me another warning glare, and then hurried after Sarah, who had dramatically fled in tears. Nice one, Veronica. Seriously, top-tier stuff, I exclaimed once they were gone. That guy's so wrapped around your little finger. In the future, if you tell him to jump, he'll